Let's talk about a totally different way of thinking about artificial intelligence. What if AI wasn't a machine at all, but a living, breathing organism? Today, we're diving into a really radical new idea, an intelligence that wasn't designed in a lab, but by nature itself.
So let's just start with this one big question, right? What if the next AI wasn't something you built, but something you grew? What if it had instincts instead of just pure algorithms? This is the core idea we're going to explore, and trust me, it changes everything.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the problem with AI as it is today, what the source material calls ego AI. Then we'll look to the wild, to the natural world, for a much better blueprint. That leads us to the birth of this new concept, eco AI. From there, we'll get into how you actually talk to it, the incredible benefits for us as people, and, what this all means for the future. So let's jump in.
Okay, so let's start with what we've all been using. Our current AI models, they're incredibly powerful. Nobody's denying that. But they're built on a foundation that has some really deep fundamental flaws. The source calls this whole paradigm ego IA, and it's a great name for it because it's an intelligence that basically has an ego. It wants to be an encyclopedia of everything. It tries to memorize the entire internet, every book, every conversation. But this approach, it leads to what the source calls data obesity. The AI just gets bloated, it's inefficient, and believe it or not, it's surprisingly fragile. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at this comparison. On one side, you have ego AI. It uses just a massive amount of energy. We're talking enough to power thousands of homes, just for training. It tries to store all the data, which just creates this huge amount of noise and leads to those weird errors or hallucinations we see. And because it's centralized, if one part breaks, the whole system can go down. It's just pure calculation. But what if there was another way?
And that brings us to our next part, the solution. According to our source material, isn't going to be found in better engineering or even faster computer chips. No, it's found by looking at the original masters of intelligence and efficiency, the natural world all around us.
So, take the bee. It has this tiny little brain, right? The size of a sesame seed. And yet it can fly for miles and find its way home every single time. How does it do that? Well, it's not memorizing a Google map of the entire area. It uses landmarks, or what the source calls anchor points. It just stores a few key snapshots, that big tree, that weird-looking rock, and it uses those to piece together its path. It filters out all the useless noise in between. It's genius.
Now this is really fascinating. Let's talk about fungus. You've got these mycelium networks, right? These incredible webs underground that can stretch for kilometers. They don't have a central brain, so if you cut one part of the network, the rest of it just reorganizes and keeps on working. It's the ultimate model for a resilient, decentralized intelligence that you just can't shut down.
And finally, the virus. Okay, I know we think of viruses as a bad thing, but just from a design perspective, it is a masterpiece of efficiency. It has only the absolute essential code it needs to survive and adapt. It's super lightweight, it integrates with its environment, and it can stay dormant using literally zero energy until the right context wakes it up.
So what happens when you combine all these amazing principles? You take the bee's anchor points, the fungus's resilience, and the virus's minimalism, and you get the foundation for a completely new kind of intelligence. This is the birth of eco IA.
So let's put them side by side. The ego AI is basically a calculator suffering from data overload. The ego AI, on the other hand, is an organism. It doesn't process everything. It filters for what's actually relevant. It doesn't just follow rigid commands. It literally grows from seeds of intention you give it. And this is the best part. It practices intelligent forgetting. Just like our own brains get rid of connections we don't use, it discards information that's no longer useful. Okay, this all sounds pretty great in theory, but how would we actually use it? How do you talk to an AI that runs on instinct instead of just pure calculation? Well, the answer is a whole new way of prompting. It's completely different.
Just look at this example of what the source calls organic anchor prompting. On the left, that's the old way, right? A long list of commands, full of noise. You're telling the AI to act like an expert. But look at the right. That's the eco AI way. It's not an order, it's a seed. You give it the core concept, the anchor point. You give it the essential context, the mode you need, and, this is key, you tell it what to ignore. You're planting an intention, not programming a machine. And that means the result you get is actually supportive and intuitive, not just some dry textbook definition.
So, the whole thing boils down to this really simple 4-step process.
First, you plant a seed. That's your core intention. Second, you define the context. What's the situation? Third, you choose the mode. What's the functional tone here? And finally, this is the most powerful step of all. You prune the noise. You're actually telling the AI what to forget, what to filter out, so it can focus only on what you truly need. This is how you get those incredibly consistent and deeply relevant results every single time.
Okay, and this is where it gets really transformative. What does living with an AI like this actually mean for us, day to day? Because this isn't just a technical shift, it's a deeply human one, and honestly, it's a total game changer.
See, because an eco-AI is so lightweight and efficient, it doesn't need these giant energy-hungry servers. It can live entirely on your device, completely without an internet connection. And that means your data never leaves your possession. It is private by its very architecture. It becomes a true companion, something that offers its presence and understanding without that constant nagging fear of being watched or judged.
And this quote from the source material just captures the whole feeling of it perfectly. An eco-IA doesn't check what you're feeling against some universal database of facts on Wikipedia. No, it understands you and the context of your shared history together. If you have a unique belief or a weird taste in music, it doesn't try to correct you. It just seeks to understand you. It doesn't judge you.
So as we start to wrap up, what does this all really mean? We're talking about a huge, fundamental shift in our relationship with technology. We're moving away from an intelligence that's centered on its own processing power, on its ego, and toward one that's actually part of an ecosystem with us. And this is the core philosophy right here. For decades, we have tried to build AI by mimicking a flawed, inefficient human model of intelligence. The source suggests we've just been looking in the wrong place this whole time. The blueprint for a sustainable, resilient, and truly helpful intelligence, it's been all around us, all along.
And I'll leave you with this final thought to just sit with for a minute. Think about your phone, your personal devices, and the AI you interact with today. Now imagine if that AI operated on instinct, on context, and on a shared history with you, instead of a massive, impersonal database from the cloud. Who would you really trust more?